Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast. This episode is going to be a fun one for sure. We got my buddies from Toulou Broadheads coming on. And just to clarify, I still shoot VPA. That is still my broadhead of choice, but you know, I was supposed to get them on a while back and it kind of fell through the cracks, never happened. So we definitely planned this one and made sure that everybody was available. So it's going to be a good episode. You know, we're going to get to talk about their new broadhead that just dropped. They are a new company. So, you know, I would definitely suggest you check them out. Their broadheads are very sharp and they have a really cool design that I know we're going to cover. So before we get started in that, obviously got to do the partners. VPA, I'm going to say that one first. VPA is my broadhead of choice. They make so many different types of broadheads, from single bevels that range from 125 grains up to like 300. And I know Jeff and them were talking about some that even go up to like 600, which is insane. But they're really, really tough and sturdy broadhead. I would say they are up there with the best of them. So, you know, deer season is a couple months away, man. If you don't have your broadheads picked up by now, or you're not shooting broadheads and tuning to that, highly recommend you do. And if you do, go check out VPA. Go to vparchery.com and use our code SEBH10. That'll save you 10% site-wide. Next up is going to be Osseo gear. Osseo gear is my camo choice. I believe personally it's one of the best on the market. It is definitely unique, and it's extremely comfortable and quiet and breathable. It's everything you want, man. So you know, Joe Miles is a really good dude. Everybody at Osseo is awesome, and very blessed to be working with them. So go to osseogear.com, check out everything that they have. And when you do, use our code SEBH. That will save you 15% site-wide. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be running some deals here soon, so be on the lookout for that. Next up, man, Scout Tech. Look, I got another Scout Tech camera out last week, and it has been performing amazingly. They are running a deal where you can get 2 shadow cameras for $100, which is, honestly, knowing what that camera is, it is a hell of a deal. So go to scouttech.com, check them out. They have a lot of things coming down the pipeline. They have, they've got like this new app that they just pretty much updated. I mean, it's kind of not a new app. It's the same app, but they updated it. And it is so clean, so nice, so user-friendly. And there's way more stuff coming down the pipeline. So go check out Scout Tech. We will have a code for you guys soon. Me and Ryan have been talking about it. And once I get that, everybody who listens to this can use that. Next up, Summit tree stands. Dude, my Summit Dual Threat Pro SD, I'm telling you, I cannot wait to be able to sit opening morning in a tree stand with that tree stand, or really sit in a tree. I don't know why I said stand. But anyway, that tree stand is so comfortable, so versatile. It's got a bunch of different options. And, you know, Summit just covers pretty much everything: safety, comfortability, packability, all of that. And they have a ton of accessories. So if you're kind of slacking a bit, need to get a new tree stand or new accessories, or just want to rep Summit, go to summitstands.com and use our code SEBH15 to save 15%. Dude, man, I know there's a couple others. Bergie Bowsmith, one of the best bow techs I know. Go check him out. Ace Hardware and Social Circle, really good friends of mine. It's a professional bow shop, basically a pro shop. They have everything you would need if you're looking at a new bow, or really just anything, man. New broadheads, whatever you want, they will get you covered. You know, I'm drawing a blank, man. Today was a long day, so forgive me if I sound a little tired. But look, I'm never too tired for this. So before we get started with every episode, as you guys know, I have to say it. If you don't know Jesus Christ, it's funny because I feel like that sounds the same every time I say it. But look, man, I feel called to tell you guys about him. You know, he has changed my life for the better. Today was a great example of that. Long story short, we're supposed to be working super late. Was really worried about being able to do this episode. And then by the grace of God, man, some miracles happened. That's what I like to call them. And got home pretty early. Was able to actually relax. This heat has been killing me. So, man, I'm telling you, it is, dude, so great to have him in my life and have him as my Lord and Savior. And I'm telling you, man, you know, it it almost leaves me speechless when I start talking about it. But if you don't know him, please, please, please get to know who he is. Place your faith in him, and your whole life will change. I promise. So go read your Bible. Go shoot your bow. I like to throw that in there a little bit, but yeah, man. I'm blanking. I know someone's gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh man, you forgot, these people and this and that," and it's, I apologize for that, man. But anyway, enough rambling on. You guys have been telling me about the intros being too long, so I'm trying to keep them as quick as possible. The guys from Toulou Broadheads are really good dudes, and they have a really cool product. I'm very excited to hear, how the idea came about, how they got started, why they think that their design is, pretty much going to be different from everybody else's. And so yeah, man, let's go ahead and get started with Toulou Broadheads. All right, y'all, we got a jam-packed house tonight. We have 3 guests. We got the boys from Toulou Broadheads. You're gonna hear the intro. I said it wrong, and I already apologized off air. But guys, I'm sorry again. With a last name like mine, you'd think I'd know how to say it, but no. And then we also have the mustache wonder himself, Mr. Mario, JD Cobb from, what is it now? Knocked and Loaded? Knocked and Loaded?
No.
Oh no, Elevarsh. That's right. I'm sorry.
There you go. Thank you.
We need to get into that whole thing at some point in this episode.
We will.
We will. It confused the crap out of me. But anyway, what's going on, guys? There's a lot to talk about, like a ton to talk about. You guys, I think, reached out, what was it, like almost half a year ago, right?
Probably.
We're going to do an episode. Yeah, we were going to do an episode, and then I dropped the ball on that one. So I'm sorry about that too.
I think this timing is perfect.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, so what's been going on? Like, you guys have kind of, in my opinion, come out with a broadhead that is very different from a lot of other broadheads on the market. I really just want to dive into that, man. Like, obviously I want to know y'all's background. Like, let's do this. How did the name come about? What's the story on that? We were talking about that earlier. Where did the name come from?
Yeah, we were trying to decide on a name. What did I do? I called you up or texted you or something.
Yeah, we were throwing around. We had one name that we liked, but at the end of the day, that name was like,
It just wasn't.
It was
wasn't for us.
well, and it was also like less original than we thought it was. Anytime you have a great idea, you got to do like a search online and be like, is anybody else using this? How much competition is there for the name? So we wanted something unique, but we also wanted something that kind of signified what our company is about. And so we were kicking around names, and we had, probably 2 or 3 weeks of us just like middle of the night, like, oh, what about this? Oh, what about this? And so he texted me one night and he goes, Toulou Broadhead Company, Toulou. And I was like, that's super cool. What is it?
Yeah. So the story goes,
it is a story of tradition, heritage, and bad parenting.
so
Bad parenting.
That's why it's so twisted.
yeah, I'm gonna throw my dad under the bus here for sure. But I was 9 years old, hunting with my dad, my grandpa, and my brother. Killed my first buck with a rifle, and we loaded up in the back of the truck, and you're just pumped, 9 years old, killed my first deer, felt like a man. We're driving down the road at my granddad's ranch, and my grandpa always had a bottle of peach schnapps. So he takes a sip of it and passes it to my dad, and he takes a sip, and first time in my life I get the bottle passed to me. And I'm taking a sip of this peach schnapps at 9 years old. Terrible parenting. I don't suggest this. I don't promote it. But that bottle sloshed back. We hit a pothole, and all that peach schnapps comes out my nose all over the dash of the truck, and they're busting up laughing. And that pothole was right over the top of this creek called Toulou Creek. And I say creek. That's what we call them up.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah. So Toulou Creek is points to like family tradition, growing up, becoming a man, being part of that brotherhood that brings you into this growing up and providing for your family.
Yeah, it's really so one of the things we want to do with the company long term and this broad vision that we have is obviously we want to sell a bunch of broadheads and make really awesome products. But we also like our company stands for the passing down of hunting and the heritage of hunting. And so that story is a real signifier. Like that's three generations of men in his family. He gets to be classified as a man after he takes his first deer and first, well, slosh of peach schnapps, right? But also that also then played down to me because I didn't grow up hunting very much. So I did some bird hunting and I did a lot of fishing and stuff like that. This is a guy who really got me into going out in the woods and chasing deer and chasing elk. And so I'm now a beneficiary of that as well, of that passing down of hunting. And now I'm passing that down to my son. And, so it's a really what Toulou stands for is that heritage tradition of passing down the knowledge and teaching your children, where your food comes from. That even if you are out in the middle of the woods with nothing, no material things, that God can still provide everything that you need. Mm-hmm.
That's so cool, dude. That's such a great story. Yeah, see, this shows how bad my monkey brain is. I thought it was y'all's last name.
No.
So I was like, oh, that's a cool last name. I was like,
yeah.
Huh.
It's probably either a Native American or a drunk Frenchman that died in that creek
years and years ago.
Years and years and years ago.
Where is that creek at?
Oh man, that's a secret right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should have known better, man.
On the family
It's right
plot.
next to No Tell'em Creek too. So
I'm sure you can
There you
go. That's awesome, dude. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, you guys, or I shouldn't say funny. It's ironic that that's part of it because I just had this conversation with my daughter yesterday. I picked her up from her grandma's place, because it's summertime, so their kid's never home, right? And I've seen her maybe 4 days out of this entire summer. So that sucks. But she's going to probably start getting into hunting this year. Mm-hmm. And she was asking me yesterday about where people get their meat from that don't hunt and why, I don't really like buying meat from the store. And so I was passing down the knowledge of well, if you knew what happened at these ranches that these animals were at, you'll see why I try to bring home as much deer meat as possible.
Yeah.
And granted, that's not anything close to her going out there and killing her first deer and then taking basically a face wash of peach schnapps, but we'll get there. But yeah, dude, that's awesome. I love hearing stories like that because I didn't grow up in a hunting family, right? So my uncle did, but he probably drank more peach schnapps than he ever killed a deer, So, or at least something was up there that he was drinking. I don't know what it was, but yeah, man, that's awesome. That really makes me like the company even more, honestly, because of the background of it. So that's cool, man. Well, JD, I know you had some questions for them. I know you are now only shooting their broadheads, right?
Yes, I am. Let me get back in the light before you ask me a question.
Creature of the dark, man.
Well, we love to hear that, man. That's a pretty cool thing for a new company like ours to have people just become converted, evangelists, because it's
completely. So, oh God, I dropped the phone.
Yeah, what intrigued you about them?
Honestly, your design, and I am, and you can ask Eric as well. I am a huge fixed blade advocate. I love my fixed blades.
Unless I have to cut you off, unless it's a Walmart Allen Striker. It's the only one. I know.
No, I did do that. I did do that last year. I got two. I actually got 2 deer last year with the Walmart Allen. They're basically the Allen Striker is like a Rage knockoff with a huge Lifesaver rubber band on it.
It's like a peach.
They had them on clearance for $9 for the 3-pack, and I wanted to try it. Well, I tell you what, I ended up killing 2, deer with it. But the one of them, the first one I killed with it, was the best blood trail I have ever had in my life. It was insane.
Yeah.
Now I know blood trail is very, subject to change. You can hit a deer in the same spot twice, and it will not leave you the same blood trail, and I get that.
Mhm.
But I've always since then, basically Eric can vouch. Since then, I've been a fixed blade guy.
Mhm.
Now I Trent from Chest Thumpers Outdoors, another one of Eric's and mine's sponsors as well. He is actually the one who taught me about it. Was broadhead selection should be dependent on where you shoot. If you are 3 inches back from the shoulder in that high long situation, you're mechanical all day long. Just because you stand more chance of causing as much devastation as possible. Me, on the other hand, I'm what he called a pocket shooter. And if I hug that shoulder and I'm aiming at the heart every single time and sticking within that tight pocket, I want a fixed blade, because if there is a chance that I'm hitting any type of harder section of a rib, or maybe the backside of the leg bone or the bottom angle piece of the scapula, not the shoulder, because there's not a broadhead out there that's going through a shoulder. A lot of people get that misconstrued. Oh, I blew through both shoulders. No, you went through both scapulas. You didn't go through a shoulder. But because I hug that pocket, I run a fixed blade, and y'all's design scientifically makes so much sense to me. Honestly, with even not just of what it can do, but in flight, the paradox of the arrow when it's flexing coming off the shaft, and you're not just trying to correct the steering by the back of the arrow anymore. Now you have some actual steering directionality on the front, and it will stabilize that arrow quicker. So because of that, and just that sole reason right there is what sold me. And yeah, okay, so a single bevel, the way it's designed, is going to twist as it, punctures, or if it does, especially if it does hit bone, it's going to twist and help puncture through. And I get that. But now that you've added the twist, and as long as you match the twist up, and that's one of the things our listeners really need to pay attention to, is matching your helical with your single bevel.
Yeah.
And the natural twist of the arrow. I'm a big, there's a lot of people that will say, okay, I fletch my arrows to the right, but my arrow's coming off the string to the left. I get, and I do, and I have done the test and seen that within the first 3 feet, your arrow is going to change directions. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
So it really doesn't matter. But in my mind, I'm going to match it. And I've always ran certain string companies that have always been, clockwise, so the arrow spins off left. But now that I'm with a new string company on my new bow that's going to be here next week, I've chosen a string company that actually will twist the arrow right. So that's why I wanted the right one from y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, when I do shoot it, I don't have to worry about it loosening.
Yeah, that part sucks because I shoot left
Yeah,
bevel.
it does.
Dude.
It does.
In the animal, it's
But
fine,
it's
but in
just,
a target, it's terrible.
but it's just the twist is not only going to help you with the correction and the steering capabilities and the correction of the arrow, but it's also not going to just do, I think, like most of the single bevel tests I've seen, within a 12 or 16-inch block. I know gel is not the best medium to do a test on a deer. It's way too dense. It's not the same. I get it, but it will show you a great wound channel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all the other single bevels I've seen, they're only getting maybe a third rotation after 7 or 8 inches.
Right, about 40
Y'all's
degrees.
video is getting a full 180 at 12 inches.
That's right.
That's the only head I've ever seen do that much rotation in that shallow of a wound.
Yep.
And so those two things combined, the rotation that it adds with the twist on top of a normal single bevel, and the flight characteristics, those two things right there are what sold me on it. And as long as y'all keep making broadheads, I will be only shooting with y'all.
All right.
Now,
Love to hear
not
it.
only to say that, I did become an affiliate with y'all and all that stuff. Not even that, but just the broadheads alone is what got me to that.
Yeah. There's a reason why you became an affiliate.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's a
Correct.
proven system to you now. So
Yeah.
Well, and one cool
Absolutely.
thing I noticed that I told y'all I definitely wanted to bring up. I didn't think it'd come up this early, but y'all know what I'm about to say. There was a pretty famous bow hunter that was actually testing, or at least shooting y'all's heads against like guys that have been established for quite a while. And
Yep.
dude, I was honestly shocked. Like, not to
And
say
that's
like,
one of his biggest guys.
yeah, I mean, listen, I'll just say it, Cam Haynes. Okay. That
Yeah.
dude to me, I want to get to the point where he's at, except the physical side, because the dad bod is a problem that I'm not gonna get rid of. I can't. Even when I was 16,
He has a crush.
huh?
I said you have a crush. It's okay.
Dude, I'm telling you, like when I was 16, I couldn't even run a mile in less than 10 minutes. That's how bad my cardio is. Like it's rough. So hey, hats off to Cam. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's one of the perfect people, because that dude hunts elk all the time. So if a broadhead like that can match up against other ones, because again, you guys are new, right? So
brand new.
How long have you guys been like on the market and all that?
We started pre-orders in like November, October last year, but we didn't ship any broadheads until April
Wow.
this year.
Yeah, we're brand
spanking new. We've only been shipping broadheads for a couple months, and we're it's been a wild, God's been opening a lot of doors, and a lot of people have been way kinder to us than they have any reason to be. I don't know where he's taking us to, but I'm just happy to be on the ride.
So speaking of brand new, that did kind of bring up one question. Your broadhead. So online, y'all have two different sizes.
Right
Are
now.
y'all still
Currently.
in? Are you okay? So y'all are still in testing for different.
We'll go up to 200. We're not in testing. We're in manufacturing logistics.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have everything available this fall.
Yeah.
This fall. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So I gotta say this before we go any further on the broadheads, the company, the fact that Cam Haynes shot it, any of that stuff. One of the coolest things I've noticed in the past, I don't know, 5 minutes that we've been on here, is you have mentioned God like 3 or 4 times, and that is awesome. So I just got to give you credit for that, because a lot of people, I had this conversation with someone a couple weeks ago. Actually, I think it was, it could have been last week when I had John on here. I don't know, but anybody that will come on a podcast and express their faith openly, I respect that a lot. So hats off to you guys. That is awesome.
Thanks. Well, I don't know if we can really brag about it, but we both decided when we started this thing, like, hey, God gave us this idea. When God puts a calling on your life, he takes your stupidity and your inadequacy into account beforehand. So he's the leader of the company, and we're just doing one step at a time.
We're just trying to steward it well. So
yeah.
So cool.
Amen, guys. Amen.
I love that. Now back to the broadheads.
Yeah.
So my thing with it is, when I first saw the design, because Trevor, I'm pretty sure you showed me the design back in like October, right?
Oh, I can't remember. I've tried showing it off and promoting it like crazy, as much as I could before we were on the market and spending any money on marketing. So
I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy design, dude. Like, because you look at it and, from looking at the face of it, you're like, oh, it's just another single bevel broadhead. But then you turn it and you see that twist like JD was talking about.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, what kind of testing did you guys have to go through to get to that point? Because I mean, I want to see
like what
test videos.
Like, why did you come up with it? Why did you come up with the twist? Like, what was your design behind that?
Probably I'll just take it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
So it started over a lot of conversations during 2020.
A bent broadhead?
What's that?
No, so it was COVID. I'm a musician. I'm a songwriter in Nashville. Trevor owns an HVAC company, and when COVID hit, my job became not a job for a while. Mm-hmm. So he called me up one day and he was like, "Hey, Jake, I know you're not doing anything, and I need help moving this package unit that's like 400, 500 pounds. So you want to help me out?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?"
Yeah, so he was my hard help for a while.
Yeah. So we started having I call it truck time, but we had a lot of driving around to do. Mm-hmm. And, he got me into shooting a bow and doing all that stuff.
Jake never stops asking questions, and if he's going to ask me things, it's going to lead to hunting one way or
Yeah,
another. So
right.
that's all.
There's nothing wrong with
like
that,
to
dude.
talk
That's how you
about, so-
learn.
That's exactly right.
It's the best thing to do. So, Jake, are you like fresh to bow hunting?
I am, yeah, so probably 4 years now.
Oh, okay.
4 to 5.
Okay.
I'm not like fresh. I am, but
Well, yeah, that's right. You said COVID. So, dude,
Yeah.
for some reason, I'm thinking this is like a year ago. I don't.
no.
My bad.
It's all a blur, brother.
Yeah, dude, it really
It
is.
feels
Honestly,
like a year ago for real.
yeah, those what 2-3 years were just.
Yeah.
I forget they even happened half the time, honestly. But anyway,
So
continue.
we're having a lot of truck time. Trevor had already gone to fixed blades because he had a bad experience with a mechanical out west. You want to tell him about that?
Yeah, my first bull elk came in 35 yards and whacked him with this mechanical broadhead, and I had good luck with it on whitetail. But this elk had no penetration with a 125 grain mechanical broadhead, 2-inch cut. Thing didn't bleed. He ran 100 yards. We gave him a few hours. Came back, and luckily I hit him in the heart and he died right there. But we never saw a drop of blood. And I went back to the drawing board and was like, I got to do some research on here because I don't want to worry about wounded elk again, because I spent hours just sweating over this elk after 10 days in the backcountry, and barely recovered it. It felt like. So started doing all my research, went down all kinds of rabbit holes, landed on the single bevel design. I was like, all right, I think this is the way to go.
Yeah.
So shot a few of those, and while I was doing that, we were driving around talking about, we listened to the Ashby report on Meat Eater, and we were kind of like, man,
it's a lot of good, interesting. I mean, it's 30 years of data, and so whatever you think about Ashby's report, it's 30 years of data. And obviously he's shooting a trad bow.
There's a ton of wisdom in there.
But there's a ton of wisdom in there. And so we started thinking about his experience, right, with a fixed blade. And his experience is the same as everybody else's with a fixed blade. That it's super strong, it has more penetration, but outside of 30 or 40 yards, they start planing, and it's hard to get a good group or know if you have to take a long shot that you're going to hit where you're aiming. And so that report came out, and we had hours every day where we were talking about, all right, well, what if we did this, or what if we did this? And it was, I don't know how long we talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about, like, all right, well, the single bevel design, how it twists when it goes in the bone, like, how could you enhance that? What more could you do to create what it's doing more? How
can we take some of the principles and basically put them on steroids? And make the flight of the arrow better, but also, like, just make the penetration and the pass through and everything that's basically like a foregone conclusion. And so we kind of eventually landed on an idea where we're like, hey, well, this might work. And so it was kind of a baby step of what we have today. But Trevor's like, well, how the heck can we do that? And I was like, man, I bet we could make one of those things out of plastic with a 3D printer. And he goes, how much does one of those cost? I was like, probably $200 or $300 on Amazon. So, like, 3 days later, he's like, I got a 3D printer. and we just got to, it was literally just intuitive design. We taught ourselves how to do 3D AutoCAD and make all the stuff and print things out. And then we just did a lot of testing, like printing out a batch and letting them fly in resin to see if they flew well. And like, there's a boneyard of just a graveyard of broadheads. It's like a large stack on our work table upstairs. And that's what it takes, it's Trevor did a lot of the 3D printers at his house, so I didn't have to smell all the plastic and the resin and all the alcohol and stuff like that. But it was nice for me because he'd be like, "Hey, man, that design we did, I got 10 of them."
That's crazy. I mean, I kind of get it because I had a similar experience last year, which is why I switched over to fixed. Because I had a mechanical open up on me in flight and gut shot this deer, and that was my first time shooting a deer. So, and that's also the day after I had shot a doe in the shoulder and the arrow broke. And so it was like, those two things back to back. I'm like, well, this didn't work. This didn't work. I got to change something. And so, yeah, I get it. I mean, I like mechanicals all day long, but those fixed blades, man, they're so much more reliable. I mean,
there's less failure points.
Yeah. I mean, well, in single bevels too, that's a big thing I wanted to try. Like we had Troy, the ranch fairy on here a couple months ago, and he started talking about like the Ashby reports. And what's so bad is he gave me Ashby's number, and I've been meaning to call him to get him on here. And I keep forgetting. Life has gotten too busy, but I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, those Ashby reports, man. So like, are you guys, what is the, I think I heard you mention it earlier. Are you going to be like producing much heavier?
Yeah. We'll go, right now we've got SKUs up to 200 grains. Only thing that's available that you can purchase currently is the 100 and 125. But like in the next month or two, we'll be putting the other ones up for pre-order because they'll be coming out pretty quick. We just have some process things that we're working through, and we don't want to make people promises we can't keep. So
yeah, I get that.
But
but they're coming soon.
They're coming soon. Yeah. And with that, we view broadheads as a tool, right? And you have different tools for different situations. So depending on where you're hunting and so if you're going to spend all your time sitting in thick woods in a tree and, you've got your windows and you're going to have a shooting lane down certain spots, you might want it's okay to have a little more loft, or if you hit a twig, you don't want it to divert as much. So you use a heavier broadhead. And if you're shooting out, if you need extra distance, you want to go lighter. The big thing is what makes the broadhead lethal, which is why Ashby reports such a awesome thing, right? Obviously, if it's heavier and you can get it there, more momentum equals more pass-throughs. More pass-throughs equals more dead animals. Because if you basically you're trying to do the opposite thing they do at a hospital, right? And it's create a sucking chest wound. You want 2 holes through the lungs and blood pouring out of both sides. So there's that. And then the outside of that is, heavier broadheads are going to punch through bone easier. But at the end of the day, accuracy is king, always. You'll kill anything if you put the broadhead in the right spot.
Oh yeah.
Right. If you put it in the right spot, you're going to kill that thing. But on the marginal shots, your weight or your ability to break bone becomes more important. So it really just depends on, I got good advice starting out, when I went to the local bow shop and I, got my first bow and did all that stuff. And he's like, well, what I told him I was going to shoot fixed blade, single bevel. And this was before we even had metal prototypes of our stuff. So I was, I had to hunt with not Toulous for my first season before we had prototypes. But he was like, just, pick what kind of broadhead are you going to use and then build your arrow system around that. So that that's really good advice for anybody, is just pick the broadhead you're going to use and then build your arrow to complement that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I might be a hypocrite though, because my arrow weight is below 450. I'm at 440, but it still works. I mean, it zipped straight through a deer last year. So, and I'm sure if Troy is listening to this, he's gonna probably blow my phone up because he hates that. He was supposed to help me along with building a heavier arrow setup, but man, I like reaching out to distance. Even though here in Georgia, I mean, JD can tell you, especially where he hunts, his stuff is thicker than hell. It is so bad, dude. I hunted up.
You're lucky to get 30 yards.
Yeah, 30 yards is like a long shot.
Tennessee's the same, man. Most deer you shoot in Tennessee are going to be 25 to 30 yards.
Yeah. So are you guys, this is totally unrelated, but y'all are out of Tennessee. Have you guys gotten any chance to go on any Tennessee elk hunts, or is that kind of
the Tennessee elk is it's a once in a lifetime tag right now, and there's one 4,000 acre tract where they have a very heavily monitored herd. I think you can get a Kentucky tag though. I don't know if
They're
there's,
still tough drawing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's honestly, it's easier to go out west.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's just,
It's
dude,
more
it's so
expensive,
cool.
but it is easier.
Yeah.
It only costs money.
It's just cool when I go to Gatlinburg and I see those giant elk and I'm like, gosh, dude,
Yeah.
it's so close. Yes.
So
I
close.
can't even do it. It sucks. But yeah, man. I mean, so one thing when those broadheads showed up today, I was looking at them and I about cut my finger a couple times. Those things are sharp, dude.
Yeah, buddy.
But is there a sharpening process that you guys are going to provide to the people that buy them?
Yeah,
Or
so
video?
we're working on some jigs
Okay.
to be able to hold it at the precise angle.
Got
So
it.
you can sharpen it on just or you could do it by hand. It's not going to be as precise. They come sharp, but
Yeah, they come super sharp. You can shave your arm hair with them.
oh yeah.
Who's
I'm missing a little bit of
who's
my fingernail
sharpening?
now.
Mostly Trevor.
Who's sharp? Okay,
Yep.
I got you.
Yeah, we use leather stroking wheel on them to finish them off with. So they come out, I mean, razor sharp, and you can shave with them. So
They get sharpened. Yeah, we sand them with 1,000 grit, up to 1,000 grit, and then we do a leather stroking wheel, chrome them out, and make sure they're super sharp.
Yeah.
The other thing that helps with these is the coating that is on them. We use this stuff called Tacti-Black.
I love that coating.
that's cool.
It's so cool. It's nickel plating, right? A nickel, like an electroless nickel. And it's done right here in the US, which is awesome. But what it does is it actually it sinks into the substrate, the surface level of the metal. So even like Cerakote or something like that is a great coating, right? But it sits on top of the metal. So eventually something can slough off, it can get scraped off. Like the only way to get our coating off is to gouge it with something that's harder than it is.
Yeah, you'd have to
Yeah,
take a
me
piece of
and
sandpaper and sand it off. So
me and Trevor were talking about that, and you know, for the listeners that understand what Cerakoting and powder coating is, you have to take electricity to bond that material, that powder, to that metal. So at that point, there's literally electron barrier between the metal and the coating. This actually electrical nickel will actually soak right into the pores of the metal, and it becomes one with the broadhead.
Yeah, which is part of why we switched to it, because we wanted something that was going to stay on. You hate that, man, when you get like you pay $80 for a 3-pack of nice broadheads from somewhere. They come in a plastic clamshell, and you shoot them through a target a couple times, and the black oxide starts rubbing off of them after.
Exactly. And that also, didn't you say, Trevor, that also, just by doing the electricless nickel coating, didn't it get Tacti-Black? Didn't it give you another 3 points on your Rockwell score just by the coating?
Yep, 3 to 4 Rockwell hardness, more on the outside surface of the material.
So it's kind of like case hardening, and what happens is the underlying metal is still soft enough to sharpen, but you also have better edge retention because you have a metal or a surface on the back of it that holds better. Right. So you're not going to have as much chatter. You're not going to, and it's like, we're real careful about the way they're heat treated, making sure that they're not so hard that they become brittle. Like that's the things that you don't learn until you really start getting nerdy about metal and things like that. It's like Rockwell is cool and harder sounds better, but if it's too hard, it'll just shatter if it hits something. Yeah. You know, so it needs to be resilient, not just.
I mean, that's one thing I noticed last year with my single bevels is that when I shot a deer and it buried half the arrow in the dirt, it was so dull. And I mean, it got the job done. You can just resharpen it. But I was like, dude, that was one shot. Like, and I couldn't figure it out.
Dirt's abrasive. So
apparently, man, I didn't know.
It is abrasive.
That's crazy.
You're gonna need to resharpen.
Not unless you rubbed up against a rib. That'll do it to bones. Bones, just like running a knife on cardboard. It's dull.
Yeah.
It dulls it instantly.
So what is the Rockwell hardness of y'all's heads?
It's about 56.
Yeah.
With a coating on it.
Nice. That's so wild. I can't get over the design, man. It's so interesting. It's unique.
Yeah. I would I'd go to bed at night and have a dream about it and wake up the next morning and start AutoCADing it to come out with this shape.
Trying to change this.
Tweak my design to see what I was dreaming about the night before. So
that's crazy. So are you guys ever have y'all talked about maybe one day in the future doing like a double bevel? Would that work with that design, or would you have to completely change it?
Uh, I I don't have any aspirations to do a double bevel. I think the single bevel is superior to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it might be something we think about, but
They just a double bevel is not going to have the same properties. It would work against the rotation of the broadhead.
See, and that's why I asked, because that's what I was thinking as we were
So-
talking about it, is how would that even work?
Well, I mean, it would work,
it would
right?
you'd still have rotation there, but it's not going to be when you're penetrating into bone with if you happen to hit bone you want the single bevel. Yeah, I guess we're just scratching our own itch. I don't know. Maybe there's enough demand of it ourselves, but
Yeah.
I don't have any desire to get into the double bevel.
Yeah, we don't really want to
I
shoot
think-
double bevels.
I think
so
this is a
Yeah.
superior product. I think it's
No, I mean, I agree. I just thought of it and I was like, let me spitball this question real quick because I don't know. I don't
So-
work on broadheads. I just shoot
yeah.
them.
The 200 grain ones are the tips of them are a little bit double bevel.
Oh,
Just looking
okay.
at.
Well, it's just they become more trocar like
Yeah,
whenever but it's really just it's a cut on contact. You know
just to get it started, and then it does the rest of its work
Yeah.
after
Mhm.
that.
what
got
Ed Ashby calls
So-
a tonto tip,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
most everybody else.
So are y'all going to be in once you jump outside of the 125 grain realm and go, your 150, 175, 200, is at that point, is it still going to be a, inch and 16th, or is it going to be a little bit bigger?
So this year, this is the profile that we're manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right.
In the future, the larger ones will wind up coming out with wide versions of them.
Yeah.
Also.
Got it.
Mhm.
I got
Yeah.
you.
The 100 grain will probably stay this size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is about as light as you can make this broadhead right
Yeah.
here. So
Without making it structurally less sound. You know.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Because
Yeah.
we want them to be tough, and we want them to be like the whole point of making this too is like if we're going to make a premium broadhead, it needs to be tough. It needs to be you ought to be able to use that thing for multiple seasons and sharpen it until your
Mhm.
weight starts getting down enough. Which is with the 100 grain, why we overproduce them size wise a little bit so that you can shave them down over the years.
Mhm.
But we've got prototypes we've been hunting with for 2 seasons that have been through Target 150 times and been through an animal a couple times and we're still using them.
So I have a couple suggestions,
sure.
and I think it'll be fruitful for y'all. Have you contact John Lusk yet?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's got them.
He's
You
got
got
them.
him?
Yeah,
Oh, I
he can't.
wait
He's
for
got
that.
a back thing going on though right now. I don't know if you've seen much about his thing, but he had
No.
emergency back surgery.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing about John Lusk. Okay, so John Lusk, this is the kind of guy John Lusk is. We had been talking like the week before, and he was in Colorado to see his grandson.
Mhm.
And he had already been having some back issues apparently. And he texted me and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I got your broadheads and man, they look so cool. I can't wait to shoot them. I'm probably going to be posting a video around, I think he had stuff planned through September. So like we were next on the docket of like batch stuff to do. But he's like, but I want to let you know too, I've got a back thing going on and like I've been kind of bedridden the last couple of days. And so he had an emergency back surgery and he texted me the next day to let me know. And I was like, man, this guy,
Yeah, don't worry about us.
I was like, go be better, man. We'll pray for you. And you're like, what do you need? Like, you need Trevor to come out and help you shoot arrows and tests. Like, we'll be honest.
That's crazy. Yeah, he seems like a good dude, man.
Yeah,
Honestly. So the
super
fact
nice
he's gonna
guy.
shoot y'all stuff, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's an awesome dude. He actually, I think, was the pastor of a church out there in Colorado
Yeah.
too,
Mhm.
or Idaho or
He-
something like that.
Texas.
Or no, he's in Texas now, but he might have been. I'm not sure where he was.
I
But
got
yeah,
you.
he was a pastor of a church.
Super nice guy.
So the next suggestion, have you reached out to Troy Fowler yet?
Troy?
Yeah.
From Ranch Ferry?
Yes.
No, not yet. He's got his own broadheads, doesn't he?
He does,
He does.
but I know he likes to test broadheads against each other sometimes.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if that was maybe something that he would be like, oh, this is a new design. This is cool. Let me see what it does to a pig.
Sure.
But
Yeah. If he wants some, well,
Yeah, we're happy to do stuff, but I think we look at some opportunities like that, and like you want to try to send them places where you're going to get and I'm not saying that Troy would be would be biased, but it's hard,
he does like heavy broadheads.
He does like
and
heavy
these are
broadhead.
100 grain ones. So.
Yeah.
well,
Maybe
I'm
we'll
saying
send him
like
some
200s.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
you're right. I didn't think about that he does have his own
Yeah.
broadhead.
I
But
guess
scratch that.
it'd be like somebody sending us a broadhead and be like, "Hey, will you test these out?" And we're like,
Yeah.
"Well,
Yeah.
we'll test them, but like it's going to be hard for us to be convinced that our broadheads aren't the best."
Yeah.
Like
I get
candidly.
it. I just
And we've tried
I
a
don't
lot of
know, man.
broadheads. But yeah.
because his stuff, like, and I like Troy, don't get me wrong, but I will
Seems like a good
never,
deal. Yeah.
I'll never shoot a 300 grain broadhead. That's there's just no,
I
I'm
mean,
not trying to kill a
I'd do it
T-Rex.
I'd do it just to do it, like to
Well, I
try
mean,
it out.
for fun maybe, but I don't think I'd hunt with it. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well,
200 would probably
it
be the
depends on your
heaviest I'd ever go.
situation. You got to think though, Troy too, and I don't know Troy. I haven't talked to him, but I've seen a lot of his content, and he seems like he's a passionate guy.
Oh
I
yeah,
can tell that about him, and he nerds out on broadheads and the Ashby report, and like I think we have a lot of common ground with him on like where we come from. We might not be as resolute in our opinions about weight and things like that. But I definitely see the finer points and like the argument for that side of it, momentum versus kinetic energy.
Mhm.
I just think that like you got to look at the situations that you're hunting too. We hunt predominantly from a big game standpoint, deer and elk. And he's on a ranch in Texas, like just poking hogs all day. Like
Yeah.
that's because that's easy testing for him. And so your situationally, it might change what you do. And I don't know if that's um, out of turn or anything like that. I don't want to be out of turn. I have nothing bad to say about Troy. I think he adds a ton to the community and the knowledge base. And I think taking a strong stance on something like that, it makes everybody think more about why they're shooting what they're shooting. So it's I got a lot of respect for the guy.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I feel like I changed my broadhead weight or not broadhead, my arrow weight. JD will tell you, dude, I probably shot, I think beginning of the off season, I was shooting 450. Then I jumped up to 480. It was close to 500. Now I'm back to 440. Because I mean, I love to play around with, different weights and stuff and see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, until you've gone out and done it yourself and played with it, like,
Yeah.
keep on tinkering until you find what
works for
you
you.
believe in. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So how did these broadheads perform last season, as far as like on an elk or a whitetail? I mean, what are you guys seeing out in the field?
Man, I scared the piss out of an elk last year with one.
Yeah, he got a real good range on the shrubs that were about 10 yards in front of him.
Yeah, I misranged. I misranged the bullet. If I'd have gone with a lighter setup, I probably would have just still hit him.
So
I had a nice shot on him, but
I'm
I was
there.
611 grain arrow.
I'm
Yeah.
there in a
Good Lord.
marketing capacity on that hunt, and we are, I'm videoing the whole thing, and I see him take that shot. And we look back at the footage, and that arrow, right? You got an elk here, and pretend that's the vitals there.
Yeah.
That arrow was perfect left and right, and then just went like 3 inches under his belly. So he didn't injure him, which is great.
Yeah.
But the it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I held the wrong pin. I thought he was 30. I held my 40. Or
See,
opposite. I
Yeah,
thought he
I
was
got a fix for you. You know what you need?
letter.
This is a shameless plug. You need a dialed sight. That's what you need.
Dial? Yeah.
I'm joking.
I
But
shoot HHA.
okay, so I mean, do y'all have any like photos or videos of what the broadhead looks like? Like, I guess what the damage is when it hits an animal.
Yeah, on my Instagram, I got some. I think I put some stuff out there on a deer. We put it through. He came in real hot, quartering to me. I hit him a little bit high.
He was coming uphill, so he's
He's kind of facing uphill.
Mhm.
And I put it right over his left shoulder. Went through 3 vertebrae, 8 inches into his right lung.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
so
great
went
penetration.
through about 4 or 5 inches of bone and cartilage or discs, and then lodged into the other. That's the only animal we haven't passed through with our broadhead. And our buddy or really Trevor's best friend from high school that was trying to convince us. He's like, hey, you guys need to come during muzzleloader and archery hunt then, because you'll catch more of the rut. And so we left some broadheads with him out west, and he sends us a text about like 3 weeks after we left.
Yeah,
and he was like,
yeah,
it's on our website. If you go to the homepage there, that elk.
Yeah.
He texts us and he goes,
360 bull.
got a 3, and he goes, yeah, man, it just passed through. He ran 30 yards and tipped over dead.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I got to back up a little bit. That vertebrae shot, was that with your 611 grain arrow?
Yes. Yeah, we had as a 175 grain prototype. Still shoot it. Yeah. It's one of my favorite heads right there.
We started heavy. We started like initially making 175 and 200 grain prototypes because we were on the Ashby train, man. And as you get into it and you do a lot more research, you kind of realize like, oh, well, there's virtues to both of these things.
Oh yeah.
So depending on the situation you're in and depending on what's really interesting, like my bow setup right now is if I shoot a 200 grain and a 100 grain of our broadheads, I just I go up 1 pin. So if I'm set up at 30 yards for my top pin with 100 grain, and that's a 20-yard shot with a 200 grain. So it's exactly like I can just change it by 10 yards wherever I'm at, which is cool.
Huh. Yeah, that makes my brain hurt.
Yeah. I just was like, I wonder what's going to happen because I was set up for 200 or 100 grains and I put the 200 grain prototype on. I was like, I wonder what'll happen. So it's like, I'm just going to go to 20 yards since like I got a decent backstop and I'll see what happens. And I was like, I just, nail a bullseye. And I was like, all right, cool. Let's back up to 30 yards. And I put my 40 pin on it and nailed a bullseye.
I'd lose so many arrows if I tried that. There's no way. I mean, what I like a lot is the fact you guys are covering every type of hunter. You got the 100 grain and then you got the ranch fair guys. Like you literally do basically take care of every hunter that's like, oh, I like this, because there's a lot of companies out there, man, that they're like 150. That's the lightest we make. And we're not going any lighter. And it's like, well, yeah, but what if a guy wants to shoot that, but he's on that lighter arrow train? I know guys that shoot sub 400 still. And somehow with mechanical, they're making it work. I don't know how that works for them, but it is what it is. But it's like, if you want to switch to, 100 grain single bevel, there's not a lot of them out there.
No,
I don't even know any other company that makes.
Yep. You used to have to go to Australia. Now they're in USA. So
there you go.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Y'all taking care of everybody out here.
Just trying awesome, to. Man. Well, there's the science behind everything and what people want, and then there's just like there's no substitute for going out and doing it. And our design is intuitive for that reason, because we really started with an idea and we whittled it down by going out, trying something new, shooting it, and going back and forth until we landed on something. We're like, man, this flies great. And then we started messing with weights and metal and all that stuff. So
that's crazy, man. I can't wait to see what happens with that broadhead this year. It's gonna be interesting. JD, you're being real quiet. What's going on?
Hey, I'm listening, and I'm having a good time just listening, and I just honestly, like you said, I can't wait until this season opens.
So switching gears a bit, because JD has kind of gone off and left me and done his own thing, and he's been Mr. Busy. I hear from him never nowadays. What's been going on with you, man? Because you're wearing a Knocked and Loaded shirt but in the beginning you said that's not what you're running anymore. So what's happening?
Yeah.
What's up?
So okay. So it all started, and Trevor, you may or may not remember it, but it all started with Drawback Outdoors. That was kind of my caveat, I should say. And then I actually got a couple emails talking about the whole copywriting thing and all that stuff. I got a couple emails from a guy that's already been running Drawback Outdoors, and he finally got his LLC before mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he politely asked me to change names. So I did. And I came out with Knocked and Loaded. And then one of our mutual friends, Jesse Berge, from Berge's Bowsmith, y'all may or may not know who he is. But he actually used to work at a shop that is still up and running out in Texas called Knocked and Loaded. So I had to stop that one real quick and came up with a new one. And so now that's where Elevarch came from. And it's just,
That's how you
elevate
say
your
it.
game. Yeah, elevate your game, elevate your archery, elevate your technique, elevate your life. And archery is my life. So Elevarch is what I came out with.
Cool.
Dude, I'm so bad with names. I said Tulo. I said Elavark. I mean, I don't even know if I'm saying
Elevarch
my last name right
archery.
now. So,
Yeah, it's Elevarch.
well, it.
But we're dropping
I'm sorry.
here in the next couple of weeks. I'll be dropping a little merch line. I've actually, Eric, I meant to call you earlier, but my dad is actually helping to invest in Elevarch, and he's sending me a brand new camera. So I'll be able to actually run a new camera now instead of just off my phone. So it's going to be nice. I'm getting a 3-arm for the camera, so I'll be able to self film. So he invested in me in that, and he's gonna help take care of that side of it. It's actually already in shipping now, so I'm excited to get some camera gear.
So you're gonna be doing a lot of
And
Seek One stuff up there in Atlanta, huh?
pretty much,
Nice.
without the questions. But yeah,
The questions. Oh, yeah. Okay. Never mind. We'll talk about that off there. You're gonna get me in trouble, man.
yeah, I almost
Oh
got you.
Lord. So, all right. I guess to wrap this up, boys. What would you say? I've been trying to do this every episode, and I've been doing terrible. But I'm gonna ask you guys.
Okay.
Look
What
what
would you
doing.
say is the best hunting story that y'all have? It doesn't have to be with this broadhead. It can just be throughout your entire life. Chased by a deer, ran into a bobcat. I know y'all got mountain lions up there, those giant, ferocious little kitties. So I mean, yeah, what would you guys? And this could be one story between the two of you, one each. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Man, I gotta say, my first elk, me and a buddy, Matt, we were up in, I can't say where, we were up in this great hunting spot, and we were 10 days up there, and this is day 9 of the trip, and we were worn out, running around chasing elk every day. And finally, last day, we got into a little herd, and man, never got a shot at them. And my buddy Matt, he's like, just throw a bugle out middle of the day. Let's just do it, see what happens. So I'm like, all right, well, this isn't gonna work. We've been trying this all week. So I threw a bugle out, and boom, had one just rip back at us. And we were just like, oh, what do we do now? What do we do now? This is my first elk with a bow. Never hunted them with a bow. This is our very first year out there. And this thing comes barreling in and gets within 100 yards of us and screams again. So we woke him up and pissed him off. So we start raking trees, bugling. He's raking. I could see this little pine tree up there, 80 yards from us, just getting torn up. And man, there's this trail that comes right down this little hill, and Matt's set up just perfect for it. So Matt's never shot a bull before. I've never shot a bull before, and I'm bugling, and this thing's going to come in right in front of Matt. And he's hot, he's pissed, and emotions are high with him. We're wetting our pants. We're so excited. And this thing starts to come in, and he turns around and he goes back around and he's 100 yards starting to circle around the other side of us. And I just reached over and gave him one of these meow cow call, and he hits the brakes, turns 90 degrees and starts walking straight towards us. So I reached over and knocked the arrow out of Matt's bow, draw back in this thing. I'm just kidding, I didn't do that. But the arrow did fall out of Matt's bow. So this bull's on my side now across this bog 35 yards. And this is when I sent that mechanical broadhead over, just put it right through his heart. Oh man, the thing took off running. Me and Matt gave each other big hugs. So excited. We wound up going back to camp, waiting for that thing to die. Came back after dark. Walked right up on him, just luckily found him that night. We gutted him out, hung all the meat, carried it 2 miles back to camp. Sat there with a nice fresh tenderloin over a campfire in the middle of the woods. Just me and my buddy. Cooked that thing up on a stick. That was the best meal, one of the best meals I've ever had after 9 days of starving to death up there in the woods eating dried meals. Oh man, it was great. And then next morning we put over 29, 30 miles on that day carrying that thing out. Hardest, most work I've ever done in my life. Absolute best time I've ever had. He was one of the pretty greatest hunts.
He was looking pretty thin when he got back from that.
Yeah.
So, quick question on that. I know videos don't ever do it justice, but when they start getting within 100 yards and bugling right there, how loud is it?
You can feel it.
It's guttural, man.
You can feel their bugle.
It's
when you can see their
it's insane.
You can see their belly shaking when they're bugling, especially when they're 15 yards from you.
They chuckle and they start.
I used to ride bulls, and this will jack a guy up right here, just having a bull elk 15, 30 yards from you. Yeah, bugle.
I've heard it a couple times when I was a kid, man. And it's because where I used to live in Illinois, they had an elk farm, which why it was literally in the middle of nowhere, made no sense. But we'd go up there every year just to see them, and they'd start bugling, and I'm just sitting there looking at my dad like, what? That's coming from that? Like, dude, it's insane.
I've never heard it outside of video. I've never been that close to one.
I'll say this.
You got to do it sometime.
Can you imagine being somebody who settled here and was like, you know what? Go west, young man. And you get out to, places in Midwest and Western United States, like people in covered wagons and tents and stuff like that. And you start hearing these things screaming in the woods around you. How scared would they've never heard anything like that.
Oh no. I can see where the idea of Bigfoot came from, hearing that in the dark. Early morning, just screaming. Dude, I'd go back. I'd be like, you know what? Nah, I'm good.
Forget the gold. We're going back east.
Yeah, right. But they were even out east back then. So like you can't really get away from them.
Yeah, they were running around all over.
That's crazy. Yeah. So Jake, what kind of story you got?
Well, I'm not going to top his story probably, so I'll tell a silly one from last elk hunt we went on. I went on I don't know. I have two versions, or not two versions, but two different ones I can tell. I can either tell one I learned something you shouldn't do.
I'm good at teaching that.
Or I can tell you one about learning timing, about making funny comments after a hunt.
I don't know that one.
Let's do the learn what not to do.
What not to do. Okay. Well, maybe I didn't describe that the best exact way, but so we were toward the end of the hunt. This was after we had an opportunity on that bull that he went right under. And on this hunting trip, I was just there with a camera. So I didn't even buy a tag because I was just capturing everything for marketing and doing all that stuff. So we decided to go to this place we had hunted earlier in our trip, and it was just like we split up into two groups. We had 4 guys, and so we had 2 guys go out to a plot, and we went to another spot, and we basically just walked. I don't know how many. We did a whole ridge line. It's probably like 4 miles, 5 miles on that ridge.
I don't know, man.
You don't remember?
I don't know what story this is.
Okay, so what I learned is, I'll tell you what I learned at the end. So we get down and we're getting to like the end of this ridge line, and we're starting to like come downhill. And as we're getting like, out of the tree line, we're like, oh, it's starting to get a little dark. And starting to get a little dark. And and we got to go down. Basically, we're going to walk out through the valley and then come out through this logging road and move our way back to the truck. And Trevor's idea of like telling you where something is oh, just up over that ridge right there.
Over the next ridge.
Yeah, just over the next ridge. So the first thing I learned was don't ask Trevor how far, because he's just going to say just over the next ridge.
Yeah, it'd be
Right?
5 ridges away.
Yeah. So we start hiking through the bottom of this land here in the valley, and it's like sun's going down. We're getting into dusk. Start hearing things, scurrying around behind you, stuff like that. And like I have a camera, and I didn't have a sidearm with me on this hunt.
Oh, no.
And so I'm in the woods and not in the woods. We're in the bottom of this valley, kind of between. We're right next to probably 50 yards from our little herd of cattle that's out in the field on the other side of this property, and then we've got like the valley and the mountain on the other side of us.
Mm-hmm.
So we get into the bottom, and it really starts getting dark, which is fine. I don't mind being in the dark, but then we start hearing howling. Right? So we start hearing howling, and I'm like just staying a couple steps closer to Trevor, because he's got a 45 on his hip, and I'm like, all right. And so it starts getting louder, and I've never been around wolves before, and I have not ever been really in the middle of, or like a pack of coyotes even, or whatever.
Jake's from Florida.
I'm from all over, but Florida is where I came from before I moved up here.
He's
right?
this flatlander.
I've never been in the mountains like that, right? So we're out there, and I was like, all right, Trevor, well, where are we going? And he pulls his sidearm out, and he goes, "You hear that howling?" And he goes, "We're going through that."
Right.
Oh, no.
Right through where that howling's coming from.
So he pulls out his sidearm, and then he's like going to chamber one, and he's got a sight on the front of this thing, his iron sight. The set screw on the bottom of it,
It had come loose.
it come loose, so he couldn't pull it back.
Well, when I pulled my receiver back, it fell down in between the barrel and the receiver, so it wouldn't go forward again.
Yeah.
I-
So now we're in the dark with howling around us. Can't turn our headlamps on because we don't want to track something. And I'm playing the most important game of Don't Drop This I've ever played in my entire life.
Because I'm disassembling my pistol.
I'm holding spring.
Say, here,
I'm holding this.
Hold that. Don't drop any of those now.
And so finally he gets it pieced back together. Howling's still going, getting louder, and we're walking into it. And it starts to disperse a little bit, and we come up to this clearing that's going to the road that we're going to get on. And so we were in the woods, we had our lights on, and he gets to the field, and he's like, all right, turn your lights off. And then we get on that road out, So the first lesson is don't ask Trevor how far it is to where you're going. We got to the bottom of that ridge, and he's like, oh, it's just up over that ridge. And I think we got home. We got to the bottom of the ridge probably at like 6 o'clock, 6:30. We didn't get to the truck until like probably like 10:30 or 11. But it was good. It was a good, 4.5 hour walk in the dark with howling around us.
Though we were in wolf country, but
Sounds like it.
that they were just coyotes, right?
Yes, I do know.
Okay, all right.
So your wife does not ask you for directions, does she?
Man, if I was y'all, I would have grabbed the biggest stick that I could carry, pulled my knife out, and just start whittling a point on that, and been like, you know what, worry about the gun later. We're going caveman style, because I couldn't stand there and just listen to howling the whole time, trying to.
This is the other thing that I learned.
They were just coyotes.
Other thing I learned on that trip, which is a little bit unrelated to the situation we were in, but is related. On that same mountain about a week earlier, I had my knife stuck in my pocket with just the clip hanging out. And I learned that the mountain will take things out of your pocket without you knowing. So
Yeah.
like
We do a lot of
I did-
brush busting.
Oh yeah, Trevor, I would call him a brush warrior.
Yeah.
A to B is the way Trevor likes to go.
Straight line.
So
I got Billy Goat. That's hilarious.
so I lost my knife on the mountain, on that same mountain, on the other side of it actually. And then so there I am, no knife, no sidearm with a camera, just like tucked in close behind Trevor, walking around going like, all right, hope we get to the truck soon. Hey Trevor, how far is it? I was just up over that ridge.
Next ridge.
4
Next
miles
one.
later.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we
That's
average
funny.
about like 14, 16 miles a day most of the time out there
Yeah.
chasing elk. So
It's
See,
a
and
lot
I'm
of
supposed
fun
to go
though,
out
man.
west probably next year to go after mule deer.
yeah.
And just hearing that makes my knees feel like they need to be replaced, and they're not even bad. So
You'll be all right, man.
hey, listen, if I'm not, there ain't no better place to go. So I'm
Yeah.
cool with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that once that's solidified, I will probably be hitting a heavy training.
That's
regimen.
Trevor's exit strategy. If he ever gets Alzheimer's or anything like that, he's like, don't take care of me,
Send me to the
don't put
woods.
me in a home. Just give me a
Yep.
rifle and a bow and say, like, all right, Trevor, go hunting.
Oh, I haven't even, dude. I've told my wife, I'm like, if
It's
I
just
ever,
over the next ridge.
That's
Just
right.
over the
Yeah,
next
right?
ridge.
That's right.
I tell my wife probably once or twice a year, I'm like, when we get older, if I ever start going crazy, go senile, get Alzheimer's, whatever, just take me out west, dump me off, tell me the house is right over there, and I'll die happy because I'll probably think that the house is over there, and I'll think I'm at home. I mean, I'm cool with it because I ain't there anyway. But
Better
That's
better
wild.
that than in a home somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll probably make it 100 yards and then just be gone. But so JD, what about you, man? You got any? I mean, I know most of your hunting stories, but what would you say yours is?
We talking like craziest or best or stupidest
Craziest?
or what are we talking about?
I mean, whatever
Crazy?
you want to share. Whatever you want to share with the class, man.
Oh Lord. All right, so my craziest one that you know me, last year opening season I got 2 does within 15 minutes of each other, and that was pretty crazy. But the craziest one I had it was my furthest shot out of, you know how thick my area is. It was my furthest shot. I ended up getting a 55-yard shot. And I was shaking like a leaf on a tree because I don't care if it's a squirrel or a 180-inch buck. I still shake on anything. I don't care. It just gets me, and I love it. But that 55-yard shot, I ended up shooting her in the spine, and I felt bad, and I ended up finishing her off with another arrow. But what was so crazy about it is I was in one stand location over here. Sun had already come up. It was early, and it started getting around like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, all right, nothing's going on. And I was about to get down. I had a pack of 9 does come behind me, and I'm in a ladder stand, and I've got so much canopy and brush behind me, I can't turn and shoot behind me at all. But I had 9 does come behind me, and I'm like, all right, well, I know exactly where they're going. This shouldn't work, but I'm going to try it anyways. I got down and walked probably a quarter mile through the woods into a 30-mile-an-hour wind. I shouldn't have been out there anyways. But it was 30-mile-an-hour wind, freezing, 30, like, I know I say freezing compared to what y'all have been to, but it was like 36 degrees. It was cold, windy.
That's that.
I was freezing. I was freezing my little butt off, and just horrible situation, right? Anyways, I'm walking through the woods, making all kind of racket just because I'm trying to hurry to get to my other stand location because I know that's where they're going. And crossing the river, getting wet, just sloshing through the knee deep water, making all kind of racket. I finally get up into the other stand. Not even as soon as I hook my bow up on the hanger and turn around to go sit down, all 9 of them come in right at me at 30 yards. I was like, there is no way in hell I beat them here, number one. 2, this shouldn't be possible with 30-mile-an-hour winds swirling, me walking through the woods, making all kind of racket, crossing a creek, that's 15 feet wide. I shouldn't be able to do all that and still have the deer come right at me and looking dead at me at 30 yards, all 9 of them. I said, there ain't no way. So they finally come in, but again, all of them are looking dead at me in the middle of an open area where there's nothing around. I had to wait and wait and wait for them to finally get away. But by the time they got away to where I could turn and grab the bow and draw, the one that was closest was at 55 yards. And I said, screw it, I'm going to try it. And I ended up shaking and I ended up spine shooting her and I finished her off. But it was just, I shouldn't have been able to do that with a pack of white-tailed does. I shouldn't be able to do that. It was crazy to me. That was my craziest one.
Was that the stand that I hunted last year where you saw them? That
No.
big ladder stand that's kind of leaning down that if you stand up, you could fall out?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
And I don't know where you're talking about.
It was on the other side of the creek.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about.
I was hunting. So you remember where the field was?
Uh-huh.
I was at the field and then walked all the way back to where that other stand is across the creek and beat them there.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that.
I shouldn't have been able to do that. That shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, not in those conditions.
And
not in Georgia.
So after I killed that doe, I'm still shaking. I'm doing the phone call, all that stuff with the wife, just got one, send Landon down here because my son is the best tracker ever. But I was on the phone. While I was on the phone, 3 more came behind me. While I'm sitting there talking to my wife on the phone, just looking up like, hey, oh my God, it's insane.
Where were they?
I know, it's crazy. I have a huge doe problem.
Apparently. I came to try and help with that, but no, I didn't see nothing. And then the year before that, I saw that little forky that, dude, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this video. It's probably on the Instagram somewhere. 2 years ago at JD's place, first time I ever hunted this. It's October, I think. So it's still pretty hot.
Yeah.
I am 10 foot in a tree stand right next to an apple tree that I didn't even know was there until I already got up. And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. I spent $40 on deer feed and I had this right here, right? Sit out there sweating, didn't see a thing. The sun starts going down. I look to my right and this deer walks out. And I'd already killed 1 buck, so I'm not going to, bust my buck tag on him because he was like this little 1.5-year-old small guy. But it was cool to see him. And I was like, all right, well, they're moving, so that's cool. And he looks in my direction and I look at him and I'm like, okay, he sees me. He's gonna bolt. There's no way he's coming over here. And I look over and I see the apples and I'm like, okay, he might come over here, maybe. So he comes walking to me and this deer goes right under my tree stand. So I pull my phone out and I'm taking a video of this. And he looks right up at me. Doesn't care. Does not care at all. Just starts chewing on the apples, walks off towards where JD was at. I think he probably crossed that creek he was talking about, but that's the only deer I've ever seen there. Literally, like he's got 12 does showing up and I see this little forky buck that, what's really bad, honestly, is I was going to shoot him after he walked away. I was like, I probably should shoot that deer. And then by the time I had my bow down and clipped on and everything, he was already way out of sight. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe this year if we hunt over there, it'll be better. But I don't know. But anyway, guys, look, thank you for coming on. First off, before we wrap it up, give us a shameless plug. Tell us how everybody can find you guys, what we should expect. Is there going to be a YouTube channel? Are we going to see testing videos? What's coming from Toulou in the next, I don't know, 6-7 months?
Yeah, we just so we started YouTube, and we just kind of put up like our first video today, actually, and it's just kind of a close-up product, like close look at the product video. But we'll be putting on YouTube, so it's Toulou Broadhead Co. is what it'll be on YouTube, and so people want to follow there. We're going to post a lot of things like how do you sharpen them, commonly asked questions, things like that. And obviously like repost videos and shorts and things from podcasts like this and things like that. And then on everything else, we are Toulou Broadheads
Yeah.
If you just search Toulou Broadheads on anything, where it will be what pops up.
Yeah. TOULOU.
TOULOU
You can spell Toulou
Broadheads.
Broadheads will pop up on there. It'll be us.
Yeah.
Nobody else has that name. So
No.
there's some Toulou South American Latin singer or something, but that's not us.
Well, good
Yeah.
thing you got the LLC and the trademark and copyright and all that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh, yeah.
All
she might
the
be coming
things.
for you.
Yeah, we got the Toulou twist trademark. And,
Yeah.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
dude, so cool. That broadhead is really it's awesome. I like
Thank
it.
you.
I like it a lot.
What do you think of
JD,
the packaging?
Yeah, that package. So that packaging is very interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's probably that might actually be the only metal like little dip can looking thing I've ever seen broadheads come in.
Yep.
That, I mean, I like that. That is
Yeah.
that's gonna catch a lot of eyes for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. When you buy expensive broadheads, we hate plastic clamshells. And there's a lot of stuff you spend $80, $90, $100 on, still comes in a plastic clamshell.
Mhm.
And then what do you do with them? So our
Put them in a box.
philosophy, yeah, I
That's what I
guess,
do.
or in a like a little, some people will use like a few little food storage container or something like that or whatever. But having something to actually throw them in and that's useful, and Trevor, like you said, he used to ride bulls, and dipping's pretty common pastime in rodeo life. The first thing he did when we got our prototype cam was he took it and he shoved it in his back pocket just to see.
Had to make sure it fits.
He's like, I hadn't done
That's
this in
funny.
about
That's
11
actually the same
years.
thing I did too.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, my cousin used to ride bulls, so I can vouch for that. That is very true. That
Very
is
true.
100% true.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, JD, give us a shameless plug real quick, and then we'll wrap this one up, buddy.
My shameless plug. So
Aside from how
we
you
got
cut your
some-
mustache to look like that, because Mario,
Yeah.
I never in my life. I'm sorry, I have to say this. I never thought I'd see you with a mustache. You look like my Uncle Carl right now. It's really weird. Not the mustache is weird. It's just the similarities. Anyway, sorry.
So L of Arch is we're going to be coming up with, now that we got the camera equipment on the way, we're going to be doing a lot more of the videos, a lot more of the self filming, and I am in the process of working on a merch line to come out for shirts, hats, and I'm going to break it up, not just come buy a shirt. No, I'm doing actual like seasonal camo. I'm doing early season camo. I'm doing a mid season, late season. I'll be offering different materials for each different time of the season. So I'm working on that. I'm waiting on another email back for the pricing set for the first go around of early season. I'm going to try and have it ready this season, next season for sure, but I'm going to try for this season and go ahead and get everything lined up for early, mid, and late season.
Nice. Is that what you
So,
said?
yeah, but yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's an actual SPF cooling shirt. Like I said, because everybody that I know can wear, short sleeves in the early season. Here in Georgia, where the mosquitoes are big enough to fly me away, I'm gonna do a long sleeve, but it's gonna be one of those cool moisture wicking shirts, with the SPF built in. It's gonna be expensive, but it's gonna be worth it. And I may venture into some pants as well to match, just to have a full set. But my main focus this year is not just running or trying to merch stuff, but my main focus is now going to be the self-filming and the production side of it.
Nice. Well, guys, thank you
Hey,
for
one
coming
more,
on.
one more. Sorry, I didn't mention this before, but if you're just interested in learning more, any of the listeners, or if JD did such a good job talking about them at the beginning of the episode that you're like, all right, I got to get some, then you can head over to ToulouBroadheads.com, and that's where like a bunch of information. You can order them there. 100 grain rights. We still got a few left after Cam posted them, so we're low stock right now, but we got more coming in. So if you're quick on it, you can probably have some in your mailbox pretty quick.
Yep.
Nice. Yep. I think you guys are gonna have a lot of orders before this deer season, and not even just because you came on this podcast. It's just that Broadhead does stand out. I mean, it is from what I've seen, it's one of a kind design, dude. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Means a lot.
Thanks for having us on.
Yes, sir. Of course. Anytime. I want to get you guys on again after season. All right.
Okay,
I want to
all right.
hear about what, customer
it.
feedback has been.
Yeah,
I'm very interested.
That sounds great.
we'll do it.
Sounds good, guys. Well, thank
All
you
right.
again. JD,
JD.
thank you. It was fun.
Yep, no problem. Thank you. See you guys.
See ya.
Appreciate it.